Tears Beyond the Screen. How YUMENGLONG's death left fans in unforgettable pain. It's hard to find words deep enough to describe the kind of silence YUMENGLONG left behind. The kind that doesn't just echo through empty rooms or cold studios, but through hearts that once lit up the moment his face appeared on screen. When the news of his passing broke, it wasn't just the entertainment world that trembled. It was millions of souls who had found comfort, light, and warmth in his gentle smile. His death wasn't merely the loss of an actor. It was the shattering of an emotional connection that blurred the line between fiction and reality. For years, YUMENGLONG wasn't just a celebrity, he was a feeling. A quiet, healing presence whose performances carried an honesty that could make you forget the world for a while. He wasn't the loudest, the flashiest, or the most controversial. But that was exactly why people loved him. His humility, his sincerity, his subtle charm, they spoke to fans in a language of calm and care. Every role he played felt like a reflection of someone's hidden emotions, someone's silent heartbreak, someone's dream of love and peace. When fans first saw the headline that he was gone, disbelief swept across social media like wildfire. It couldn't be true. It had to be another rumor. But as the hours went by and confirmations began to appear, grief spread faster than words could contain. Hashtags flooded every platform. Fans crying, sharing clips of his interviews, posting scenes that once made them smile but now made their eyes well up. Some wrote long letters, others simply wrote, "Come back." And perhaps that was the loudest cry of all, a collective plea that echoed across nations, hoping somehow the universe would undo what it had done. What made YUMENGLONG different wasn't just his talent. It was the way he made people feel seen. Through every role, every lyric, every subtle smile, he bridged the distance between himself and his audience. He wasn't a star sitting high above the crowd. He was among them, shining quietly, kindly, humanly. His fans didn't just watch him. They grew with him. They learned patience from his calmness, hope from his eyes, and strength from his silence. And that's why his death struck so deep. Because it wasn't just about losing an idol. It was about losing a part of themselves. Many fans described the pain as losing a friend they never met. They didn't know him personally, yet his presence had shaped their lives. Late nights spent watching his dramas, mornings filled with his songs, days inspired by his messages. These were memories that built emotional homes in countless hearts. When those homes suddenly collapsed, the emptiness felt unbearable. The world of entertainment often feels distant, untouchable, a place where emotions are scripted and connections fade with each new trend. But with YUMENGLONG, it was different. He blurred that distance. Fans saw him not as a perfect figure, but as a person who understood the quiet ache of life. His characters were never exaggerated. They were gentle, layered, and real. That's why when he cried on screen, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like empathy. And when he smiled, it wasn't just charm, it was reassurance telling his audience, "You'll be okay." When he left, that reassurance vanished too. Suddenly, the scenes that once comforted people began to hurt. Old videos that once brought laughter now felt like fragments of a world that no longer existed. Some fans admitted they couldn't rewatch his dramas. Others said they looped them for days, unable to let go. The pain was both collective and deeply personal. It was the kind of grief that came in waves. One moment you think you're fine, the next a random song or quote brings tears rushing back. Around the world, memorials sprang up, digital and physical. Candles lit beneath posters, flowers arranged by fans who could barely stand from crying. Online, fan communities turned into support groups, where people comforted one another through shared heartbreak. Strangers became family overnight, united by loss. There was something profoundly beautiful about it, how a man who once brought them together through joy continued to bring them together through grief. But beyond the tears, there was reflection. Fans began to revisit not just his work, but his words. In past interviews, YUMENGLONG often spoke about life's impermanence, the importance of kindness, and staying true to oneself despite fame. Those words now felt prophetic. His calmness in a noisy world suddenly made sense. He had always lived with quiet purpose. He didn't chase spotlight, he built meaning. And that's what made his legacy so powerful. Artists come and go, but few leave behind a feeling that continues to live in others. Yumenglong was one of those rare souls. He gave pieces of his heart to millions without ever asking for anything in return. His kindness was his language, his art was his offering, and his sincerity was his legacy. His death didn't end that, it amplified it, because now people who once admired him for his beauty or talent began to cherish him for his depth, his values, and the gentle way he moved through life. In the days that followed his passing, many fans wrote letters, not for publicity, not for sympathy, but for healing. They wrote to him as though he could still hear them, thanking him for being their light, apologizing for taking his presence for granted, wishing him peace wherever he is. Those letters became digital prayers, floating across the internet like fragile paper boats, carrying love across invisible waters. And maybe in some cosmic way he received them all. His death reminded people of something bigger. That connection doesn't always require touch or proximity. Sometimes it's built through screens, through art, through unspoken emotions shared across time and space. Yumenglong proved that love, even between a fan and an artist, can be real, pure, and enduring. The tears shed for him were not just for loss, but for gratitude. Gratitude for existing, for inspiring, for making people feel less alone. As time moves forward, wounds will slowly heal, but the mark he left will not fade. He will continue to live in the scenes that play on repeat, in the songs that hum softly through headphones, in the hearts of fans who whisper his name before they sleep. Death took his body, but not his essence, because when an artist gives so much of himself to the world, he becomes eternal. Even now, when people talk about Yumenglong, there's always a pause, a quiet moment of reverence, as if his memory deserves silence before words. It's that silence that defines the depth of what he meant to everyone. Behind every tear shed for him lies a memory, a lesson, a heartbeat that once synchronized with his. And though he may no longer walk this earth, his spirit still moves through the people he touched, invisible, yet undeniably present. Even after the shock of Yumenglong's passing began to settle, the ache didn't fade, it only deepened. The world kept spinning, but for millions of fans, time seemed to stand still. Days felt heavy, nights were sleepless, and every memory of him replayed like an endless loop. People scrolled through old photos, watched behind-the-scenes clips, and revisited interviews just to hear his voice again. That calm, soft tone that had once carried so much peace. It felt unreal that someone so alive, so full of quiet grace, could simply be gone. Fans described it as losing a piece of themselves they never realized existed until it was taken away. Some said the world suddenly looked dimmer. Others said music sounded emptier. He had been more than a public figure. He was a presence that lingered gently in people's lives. When things went wrong, they turned to his dramas for comfort. When they felt lost, his words reminded them of hope. Yumenglong's art didn't just entertain, it healed. That's why his absence felt like a wound the world couldn't bandage. On social media, the outpouring of love became a phenomenon unlike anything the industry had seen in years. Fans from China to South Korea, from Thailand to Europe, joined in collective mourning. Artists, directors, and co-stars posted heartfelt tributes. Xiao Zhan, who once shared the screen with him, wrote a message that made everyone cry. Some lights don't fade, they simply move to another sky. That single line was shared millions of times, turning into a symbol of remembrance for Yumenglong's enduring light. There were candlelight vigils in several cities. Fans wore white, holding flowers, photos, and letters they'd written but could never deliver. In Beijing, thousands gathered silently near one of his filming locations, the same place where he once smiled at fans between takes, waving softly before disappearing into the set. That image now felt sacred. Some cried quietly, others sang one of his songs in trembling voices. When the chorus rose, it sounded like a prayer carried by the wind. People who had never met each other before became a family that night. They hugged, shared stories, and held one another as tears flowed. One fan, a young woman holding a photo of him, whispered, "He saved me once without even knowing." When asked what she meant, she smiled sadly and said, "When I wanted to give up, his words kept me alive." That's the kind of connection YUMENGLONG created. Invisible threads of hope that bound countless hearts together. The days that followed were filled with a haunting mixture of love and sorrow. TV channels replayed his greatest performances. Streaming platforms placed his dramas on their front pages. It was as if the world refused to let him fade. People rewatched The Moon Brightens for You and couldn't hold back tears during his final scenes. His expressions, his laughter, his quiet pauses. Everything felt heavier now, loaded with new meaning. Some fans said it was like watching a goodbye they never wanted to see. Behind the cameras, those who knew him personally painted the same picture fans had always believed, that YUMENGLONG was as kind in real life as he appeared on screen. Crew members shared stories of how he always stayed behind to help others pack up, how he once stopped filming for a day just to visit a sick fan, and how he never spoke harshly to anyone, no matter the pressure. One producer recalled, he carried gentleness like it was armor. Even when he was tired, he smiled for everyone else. That gentleness became the core of his legacy. In a world that often rewards noise and drama, YUMENGLONG remained humble and grounded. He didn't chase attention, he earned affection. And that's why his departure cut so deep. Because people knew they had lost not just a brilliant artist, but a genuinely good man. Fans began organizing tribute projects in his honor. Some planted trees, calling them Menglong forests, symbolizing how his memory would continue to grow and breathe. Others launched scholarship funds under his name, helping young actors who couldn't afford film school. It was as if everyone wanted to give back even a fraction of what he had given them. Love, inspiration, peace. His light had sparked thousands of others. Yet amidst all this beauty, there was still the haunting question. Why him? Why now? The unanswered mystery surrounding his sudden death only deepened the pain. There were no clear reasons, only silence, and perhaps that silence spoke the loudest. Fans wrote messages to him online, some angry, some pleading, others simply broken. You were supposed to grow old with us. We still needed you. You promised tomorrow. But through the grief, something miraculous began to happen. People started changing, not out of obligation, but out of love. They began living more kindly, just as he did. They supported one another online, offering comfort to strangers in his name. They donated, volunteered, created art inspired by his spirit. His fans turned pain into purpose, proving that even in death, YUMENGLONG was still teaching the world how to love better. Months later, during an award ceremony, a tribute video played, showing moments from his early career, his laughter on set, and his heartfelt speeches. The audience stood silently, some crying openly. The final frame read, "Thank you for the light you gave us. You will forever be our brightest moon." When the lights came back on, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even fellow actors whispered prayers under their breath, holding on to the truth that his presence was still felt in every corner of the industry. And that's the thing about souls like YUMENGLONG, they don't really die. They linger in music, in memories, in the way they made people feel. His fans may never get to see him again, but they carry him in their laughter, their kindness, and their dreams. They still post birthday messages, write letters as if he could read them from above, and celebrate the day they first discovered him, the day their lives changed quietly, beautifully. Some say he was too gentle for this world. Maybe that's true, but even in his absence, he continues to prove that gentleness is strength. That love, no matter how fragile, can outlive time. That art, when created with sincerity, can make immortals out of ordinary men. So, when fans whisper his name or cry softly watching his old dramas, they're not mourning anymore. They're remembering. They're honoring the bond that broke barriers of language, culture, and distance. Yumenglong may have left the screen, but his story still plays in the hearts of those who will never stop believing in the light he left behind. And perhaps, somewhere beyond the stars, he's smiling, seeing that his tears, his pain, and his passion have bloomed into something eternal. Love that refuses to fade.